Welcome everyone. So David Mario Smith here. I am here. Again, welcome to Inflow TV in the Flow with David Mario. And listen, we have an awesome show planned for today. A special guest. It's going to be absolutely fun, engaging topic. And hey, with no further ado, let me introduce my guest for today, Krishna
Hi,
Rajagopal. Hope I
David.
hope I said your last name right,
Yep,
correctly.
that's correct.
How are you doing?
Good, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Funny. Before we joined on, we were just talking. I was telling Christian that my dad's a jazz musician, and one of the things that jazz musicians do is they know how to improv and flow, and just have a high energy in their performance, and that's what we aim to do today. We're just going to sort of flow. I know we have some set topics we promote it on LinkedIn and so forth, but hey, let's just flow and just see what comes up. And Krishna, I would love for you to sort of tell the people a little bit about yourself. But before we do that, I want to let everyone know that we are now broadcasting live from the future. Yes, indeed. I'm here in the Bay Area. It's November the 4th. But Krishna is in tomorrow, November the 5th.
Exactly. November the 5th, 10 a.m. for me.
Krishna, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you guys do at AKATI Security.
Sure. Thanks, David. So
Sure.
my name is Krishna. I am the group CEO of a company called AKATI Security. We are an MSP and an MSSP, right? So we started off as a cybersecurity consulting firm, and today our core is being an MSP, MSSP. And apart from that, of course, I've recently written a book called the Cybersecurity Power Play, meant for board members, non-technical members to understand cybersecurity, and why cybersecurity is no longer just an IT thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a business risk, right?
Mm.
So that's what I do, and it's a pleasure, David, to be here. And I completely get it with that flow and the vibe. Let's just
Yeah,
have a casual
yeah.
chat and see where it takes us.
No, no, absolutely. And again, like I said, Krishna, we are literally broadcasting from the future, from tomorrow. So Krishna, what's your Wednesday morning looking like right now for you?
Oh, it's great. It's been a wonderful start. So this
Yeah.
is, I'm starting off here on a live event, and then
Mhm.
I'm off to a in-person conference later today,
Ah,
where I'm at another panel. So I
yeah.
hope to be, at two different sessions, one online, one offline today, and it's good.
Man, you were going with the flow today. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. So Krishna, you are at the forefront of cyber defense, cybersecurity, and from your view in the future as you are in tomorrow, what's the one thing you see businesses doing with AI right now that makes you as a security pro and expert just want to unplug the whole internet? Like, what are we doing, people?
That's true, David. For MSPs or MSSPs, right?
Mm,
Their clients, right? They're deploying AI tools. They're dumping proprietary data onto AI tools faster than
mm,
cybersecurity companies or MSPs or MSSPs can even think
yeah.
of securing them. And that's the
Hmm.
current situation we're in,
Yeah.
right?
So
And it's scary because MSPs are worried. They're like,
yeah.
should we just wait and see? And that, in my opinion, is where many MSPs are going to be collateral damage if they don't act
Ah.
soon.
Yeah, because aren't MSPs supposed to protect their clients, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because if you look at the whole MSP business, they started off, they built the entire industry on a break fix, right? That whole industry was about break fix, right?
Yes,
You build them on time and material or hourly basis. It's a very reactive thing, right?
indeed.
We tend to coin this as MSP 1.0, and then we're moving to break prevent, right? And then
Mm,
this whole thing about MSP 2.0, where you become proactive, break prevent kind of thing, have monthly
mm,
contracts. And then now we're talking about AI, and then we're like, is that are we moving to from a break fix to a break prevent to a never break, right?
Interesting. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Is this business suicide? So I think that's what's running through a lot of MSP and MSSP's mind right now.
Yeah, so in I love the phases here, like the 1.0, the 2.0, and not sure if we're at 3 or whatever, but are MSPs, I guess, now terrified, as to what's coming? And
They are. They're
is there a
literally.
confidence gap right now? Yeah.
There is a massive confidence gap, not just from the business owners, but the employees themselves, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because your team is going to think like, Mr. Boss or Mr. CEO, you're asking me to implement AI in our MSP or MSSP. Are
Yeah.
you asking me to implement my way out of a job? Right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I had an
Right.
engineer who came to me once. He already
Yeah.
said this, right, Krishna? He said, look, if AI can do everything I can do,
Yeah.
what's my future?
Wow. Yes.
Right? So I think that there is a serious confidence gap there
No,
across the board.
absolutely. Yeah, and then are they afraid to sell something they don't understand themselves? Right? Is that there's that part of it
Definitely.
too? Yeah.
So they're not sure what to sell
Hmm.
as well because, like I said, MSP 1.0 was very reactive. MSP 2.0 was trying to break prevent monthly recurring contact contracts.
Hmm.
That's fine. And
Yeah.
then there was this whole MSP 3.0 where you talk about AI, but really we've passed that now. We're right now, I would say MSP 4.0, where
Ah.
because whether you like it or not, customers are using AI tools, right?
Yes.
There are different studies, but I saw one from a Microsoft Work Index study
Hmm.
saying that 78% of your employees are bringing their own AI tools to work. Right? That
Yes.
is a big number.
Yes. 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 That is huge, and it's like, and so how do you secure this? And our clients are asking, please secure this, right?
Well, yes and no, David. You see,
Yeah.
for example, I'll tell you a true story, right?
Hmm.
There was an MSP that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And they are serving a law firm, right? About 50 people, right? Law attorney firm. And what happened was they wanted to implement AI, Gen AI, for
Hmm.
their contract review,
Yeah.
right? They wanted to speed that up. And the MSP said, hold on, wait. Don't do this first, wait. Did the client wait? Definitely no. So they went ahead,
Yeah.
engaged a consultant, and that consultant said, for sure, I can do this, right? And they did
Yes.
it, right? Then, right, during the annual audit, what happened was the compliance auditors came in and they
Hmm.
found out that they're exposing sensitive, confidential PII data on a
Wow.
public bucket, right?
Wow.
That's
Yes.
reportable data breach right there, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then what they did,
Absolutely.
they called the MSP and said, how did you let this happen? Right?
Yeah.
And they fired the MSP.
My
So
goodness.
I
Yes. Yes.
think,
Yes.
when I think about this, and then,
Yeah.
and of course the MSP was saying, the client's
Yeah.
wrong, I'm right. I said, look,
Right.
was the MSP wrong? No. But was the
Yeah.
client
Yeah.
wrong? No.
Yes.
Right?
Because
Because
on both fronts, there's situation, and not
yeah,
to cut you off, but like, how do you make sure that your competitor doesn't even steal your data?
that's that's true,
Right?
right? Like, the data that you're training isn't being
Yeah.
queried by a competitor.
Right. Yeah.
That's gonna
Exactly.
that's and I think we got to, as MSPs, they have to stop saying no or stop saying wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you start saying no and wait to your customers with AI,
Yeah.
that's not risk assessment. That is
Mm,
business abandonment from the client's point of view,
absolutely.
right? Yeah. So I
Absolutely.
think we have to start to reframe. And I think the first thing that has to happen is a mindset shift
Mm,
from the MSPs and MSSPs.
gotcha. And so is it so? Yeah. It's almost as if like, how do you move from sort of the confidence gap, the fear, the saying no, to so okay, how do we win in this market in a sense, and there's almost a and how to do that, right? So if I'm an MSP owner, watching this, I'm convinced, right? I'm done hiding, how do I do this? Like I want to step out of the fear, that sort of the
Sure.
not the foam of the fear of missing out, but the fear of messing up, right?
Messing up.
Right,
Yeah.
I want to step out of that sort of shadow and into like, how do we actually do this? How do we sort of get to close the confidence gap?
Well, I would say there. probably 5 things, and I'll start with the first one, right? The very first one, like I said, is a mindset shift, right?
Mm,
You have to start reframing your value.
mm,
Stop selling technology
mm.
because your value is no longer in the technology stack. It's in the
Yeah.
technology strategy. So you need to stop selling uptime, and you need to start selling business outcomes to your client, right? Because
Mm,
they, in the end, clients don't want to buy AI, right?
yeah.
What they really want to buy is 10% faster invoice processing, 20% reduction in support ticket. They're looking for that. So customers
Yes.
actually want business outcomes. So I think that's the first thing. We have to reframe our thinking into that sell motion where we don't we don't start pricing seats, employees,
Mm-hmm.
assets, right? We start pricing outcomes,
Yes.
right? That's going to shift. That's going to be an immediate shift from being a cost center discussion to start
Yes.
becoming an investment discussion. And then the customer start seeing you as a trusted advisor, right? I would
Right.
say start with that as the very first step,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then once you do that, once you have that mindset
Yeah.
shift, be your own customer zero. Because you can't teach someone to drive if you don't know how to drive, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. No, and
you gotta
I
use it
love what
yourself.
yeah, I love what you're saying though. The outcome based is so from a sales pitch perspective, it's outcome based sales pitch,
That's true.
but selling outcomes and focusing on the outcomes. I mean, we've been talking about this from business 101, right? Is focus on outcomes. Don't just invest in technology tools. Focus on
That's true.
outcomes. But I think now in the age of AI, as everything becomes so democratized and everything becomes table stakes, right?
And
Outcomes,
you
how does this actually affect my business and my key critical workflows?
exactly, exactly. You've said it right on, David. That's exactly what the client's looking for right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want a partner coming down to them saying that buy this product for this many seats or
Yeah.
licenses. That conversation is going to die down slowly. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're operating in that game, that means you're still in MSP 2.0
Yeah.
or 3. You have to up your end because it had. If you don't do that, if you don't make that
Mm-hmm.
shift, you're going to be that collateral damage because
Yeah.
customers are going to look for providers that can serve that outcome.
Absolutely. Now, what's interesting too. We talked about like the different AI tools now, ChatGPT and Gemini and all these tools. And as you're sort of focusing on selling outcomes, how do you sort of or how does an MSP go to a small business, for instance, and say, hey, that free AI tool, that your team loves, that ChatGPT, that that Claude or Gemini, whatever it is, right? I need to charge you X, 100 a month to manage it as an MSP. So how do you frame that as value and not as a penalty, right?
That's great. I think that's key because mindset shift. Then you start being your customer zero. Now it's about how do you monetize it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The gem that I've seen that works well is start offering an AI readiness assessment,
I like that.
right, to your clients, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously a paid and it's going to be a high margin consulting engagement, right? So you can
Mm,
go to your best clients and say, you know what, where are you right now experimenting with AI, right?
yeah.
Then what's your critical data? Where is your digital crowns, right? And then what's your operational bottleneck that you're trying to solve? Then you map those to their tools, to their
Yeah.
business goals, right? And then you come up with an AI readiness assessment. Start with that first, because that's going to open a lot of doors for future
Yeah.
business.
Interesting. Interesting. So,
Yeah.
Christian, you know, i- in your role now, as you're an author, you're on the front lines of seeing a lot of security issues sort of unfold, and even new ones that you probably didn't even think of before. Is there anything that's happening that's just sort of made you scratch your head, or something that just like surprised you in terms of some of the security issues around AI and what MSPs are doing?
Well, I think the first thing is that a lot of companies are jumping with their heads down immediately into this AI bandwagon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without thinking about guardrails. So there
Yeah.
is absolutely no AI governance in many
Mm.
organizations that are implementing, and that is a scary thing. We've had a
Yes.
case a couple of months ago where a company implemented Copilot, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then one of the employees down at the administrative staff, right, a very junior employee, just through creative prompting, managed to find out what the CEO's salary was. Right? So this is happening, and it's going to get worse, right? And that's just
Yeah.
on a normal day-to-day implementation, right? Leave
Right.
alone the deep fakes that we see, right?
Yeah.
That's another scary thing. That's threat actors doing stuff, right? And then we're
Yes.
seeing a
Yes.
lot
Yes.
of threat actors embedding malware into AI-related browser extensions, and that's scary as well. Some of those browser
Yes.
extensions are five-star rated, right? And
Yes.
they're in AI
Yes.
malware. So we're seeing three-pronged approach, right? The threat
Mhm.
actors, the organized crime groups, the deepfakes, the scams,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
companies making innocent mistakes in implementation.
Because all this
So
stuff
does
is
that
new still. This stuff is
all this stuff
relatively
is
new.
new? People
We're
are
all
just trying to
learning.
wrap
Yeah.
their heads around it. They have no clue what to do. So
Yeah.
the best person to assist them is the MSP or MSSP because you're closest to the client,
Yeah.
right? So I think they are sitting on um, a gold mine out there, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the funny. One of the things as I was preparing for this, this talk, this conversation with you, I began to sort of think about this seems like an AI gold rush. So funny you mentioned the term gold mine because I think
It's
there
true.
is
It is the AI gold rush.
there is this AI gold rush where everyone's trying to race, but I'm not sure everyone knows where they're racing to, and I think that's part of the problem. We're
You know,
all running,
it's
not sure where we're running to. Yeah.
where we run into it. I
Yeah.
think it's when that early days of internet, right? When it came
Hmm.
out, everyone's jumping on it, not sure where it's heading. But eventually, the industry will figure it out, right? And we'll
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
clear lines. But for companies, they're basically going to say, you know what, help us, innovate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you move and get out of the way, right? That's
Absolutely.
the conversation, right? So you don't want to be the one that gets told to leave. You want to be the one that sits there, guides them,
Yeah.
and build your margins on that.
My goodness, my goodness. So I think so. What do you think now? Speaking of the gold rush thing, what's a year from now, right? What do you think would be the single biggest mistake that caused an MSP to sort of fail in this AI gold rush?
Um, you know, the biggest mistake is that wait and see mentality.
Mm.
If they're going to have that wait and see mentality right now, if they
Yeah.
think AI is all about just chat GPT,
Mm-hmm.
they might be out of a business in a year or two,
Mm.
right?
Interesting.
Um, because companies are not just using Gen AI, right? They're using Gen AI, right? Because like if you talk about how they're implementing AI from a client
Mm-hmm.
point of view, right? Level
Yeah.
one could have been, having AI chatbots, right? They've
Yeah.
passed that, right? Level two is probably
Absolutely.
experimenting with, generative AI with their internal applications, getting the team more productive. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies
Mm-hmm.
are also going to be past that very soon, and companies
Absolutely.
are now talking about agentic. So they're talking about digital workforce,
Yes.
right? So as MSPs, you must be there. When they start talking about that and they have
Yeah.
no clue what to do, start offering that, right? That's the
Yeah.
outcome that we're talking about, right?
Yeah. I think the agentic piece is the scary but also exciting piece as well too because you're right
I agree with you.
because
It's
now
scary, but it's so
yeah
exciting.
because you're right because you use the right term workplace because now the workplace looks different. You have
Yes.
humans, right, people, and then you have agents, and then so who's managing the agents, and are agents going to be set up to manage other agents, and how do you even outfit that sort of
Yes. True.
a workflow, and it's funny, right? So and because you need a human in the loop, you need transparency, you need explainability. Like for instance, you're in financial services. How did you come up with that number, right? You can be 99% right. That 1% gets you in jail.
In
Because,
jail.
because right because
True.
that's
That
regulatory. Yeah, that's a regulated industry. So you have to be,
is true.
correct.
I think the other thing is, David, I think for a lot of the employees that are coming into the market, like imagine someone coming into the workforce on their first job a year from now.
Hmm.
That's going to be a different ball game altogether because I always say, think of the dog walkers,
Hmm.
right? One person with multiple leashes, walking multiple dogs, right?
Yeah.
Every employee is going to be like that.
Ooh, I like that
right?
metaphor.
Those dogs are
Yeah,
your agentic AI. So every employee now is going
that's
to
a good
be
analogy.
a manager
That's a
of
good analogy.
multiple digital colleagues from
Yes.
your day one of your work. That's a skill set that many may not have. And I think
Yes.
that's going to be a boom when it comes
Hmm.
hitting them on day one of their job. They'll be like, huh? I've got six other digital colleagues that I have to manage. It's my first day at
Yes.
job, right? I'm fresh out of college. Yeah, so
Yes,
that's
yes,
going to
yes.
be amazing.
Yes, yes. This foray into agentic AI, I mean, it's going to uncover, like, again, things that we never even thought about before. Last
True.
week, I was in Los Angeles for the Adobe Max conference. So that's the creative conference. You know, Adobe does,
That was cool, right?
Photoshop and all that stuff. And one of the big things that Adobe was trying to address last week was around, okay, how do you begin to create, governed creative workflows? Because at your creatives, creatives, designers, and so forth,
Yes.
they don't think of what they do in terms of a workflow. It's like I just do what I do. I design, right? Because
Yeah, that's true.
it's
That's true.
yeah, it's a vibe and aesthetic thing, right?
It's
But it
true.
is a workflow, and so Adobe is trying to sort of walk the fine line between having an enterprise discussion, because in the audience was not just designers and creatives, professionals, but there were also enterprise leaders, business folks. And so they had to sort of address the business critical workflows. How do you govern those workflows? One of the big things that was came up was, hey, how do you authenticate a piece of content, right? A design asset, right?
Yes.
That you now sort of leveraging and publishing, as a part of a marketing campaign or a brand asset or whatever. How do you know where that asset came from, right? And so one of the key workflows is you need to be able to authenticate that asset, the rights owner, with actual critical metadata that shows that this is this asset is credentialed, and we have a right to use it, and we
Yeah.
have a right to leverage it in our sort of marketing campaign and in our brand styling. But something that you would never think about, like, oh my god, that's key. Because if you're going and say using some random internet tool to generate an image, you have no idea the origin of that image. How do you
That's
authenticate
true.
images?
That
So
is true.
from an enterprise standpoint, they need that extra level of governance, to sort of be able to authenticate and give credentials, metadata tagging to every image, videos, everything, audio, everything that they leverage and use for their own brand.
It's interesting you said that because especially in the creative industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
They rarely think about governance, right? Because it's just let me go in, get my vibe, and,
Yeah,
and do my thing, right?
exactly.
And we've had incidents here in Malaysia where big newspapers and media agencies publish front page articles with one of those countries' flags upside down on
Oh my goodness.
and it was AI generated, and
Yes, yes,
they
yes,
didn't check that, right? And it
yes.
created a government to government
Mm-hmm.
rift because of AI.
No, absolutely. Because and what we're describing is our agentic workflows, right? Generative AI workflows, agentic workflows, where you're having agents, you interact with other agents, they're creating content, creating assets, and how do you verify and
That is
authenticate
true.
the assets, right? Yeah.
And I think this is where MSPs can play a part, right? Because
Yes.
once you think about that readiness assessment, you start to monetize.
Mm.
The MSPs need to curate a set of agents, right? Look at your
Yes.
client base, right? There are MSPs serving a particular vertical, then focus on that vertical. But if
Mm.
you're covering a wide variety of verticals, look at that, right?
Yeah.
If you've got, I don't know, I mean, I'm not saying you have to build a data science team tomorrow, right? The idea is not to create, but to curate, right?
Yes.
Collect that, agentic agents, people who are offering those agents,
Hmm.
and then start to package it,
Yes.
right? Because then you become from a technology seller to a trust broker. I think
Ooh,
that's key.
that's a good term. So yes, a good term. So I've always used trusted advice, but I like the trusted broker, because now we're talking about the curation part of this all, as you're curating agents and so forth. That's interesting. That's another interesting way to look. Again, there's so many things that begin to now expose themselves as you get into
That is
this world.
that is true. And if every single MSP out there should be diving their heads deep into agentic AI discussions and AI, trying to come up with AI readiness assessments for your client.
Mhm.
Uplifting your own workforce, making sure they're trained in
Yeah.
AI, making sure that they're ready for the offering that you're going to give, right? And be prepared to start offering this in the next couple of months.
Yes.
Because if you're thinking of end of next year, Q4 next year, that might be too late.
That's so it's you don't want to be last
You
in this
don't want
gold
to do
rush or
that.
this race. Yeah.
That that is definitely true.
Indeed. So now, as an author, please tell us a little bit about the book that you wrote. You mentioned it before. I would love to kind of give the audience a chance to understand and go get that.
So, because I've had the privilege of training and advising a lot of board members across the globe, and
Hmm.
one of the major challenges and fear that I see is
Hmm.
that they're very comfortable when they're talking about corporate governance,
Hmm.
finance, even legal. But when it
Yeah.
comes to cybersecurity and technology, they
Mm.
sort of take a step behind and say, let IT do their thing, right?
Hmm.
This is an IT thing. Let's bring in the chief information officer or
Right.
chief information security officer to do their thing. But we realize that cybersecurity is not an IT thing,
Hmm.
right? It's the board that needs to make decisions. You can't make decisions on something that you don't know about. So, and a lot of them don't even understand what the cybersecurity team is presenting to them,
Hmm.
right? So that's why I wrote this book. It's actually a blueprint and a cheat sheet for
Yeah.
board members, right? So
Yes.
if you hear a presentation and someone's blabbering about zero trust and SASE and
Yeah.
viruses and Trojans, you have no clue what this is. This
Yes.
book's
Yes.
going to be handy because it has all the cheat sheets. It's got all the explanation. It also has a couple of frameworks that they can apply
Hmm.
straight onto
Hmm.
the organization. Plus, I think another thing I always see is a mismatch. Board
Mm.
members saying their CISO is not right.
Hmm.
CISO says board members don't understand. And then we realize that actually both of them are right?
Yeah.
Because there are actually different types of CISOs in the market,
Yes.
right? And different types of organizations need different types of CISOs. So what I did in the book is I took different types of CISOs that I spoke about across the globe,
Hmm.
and I profiled them and I match them to the DISC behavioral profiling and
Hmm.
the MBTI. So there is a DISC profile and an MBTI for different types of CISOs. And there's 6 types of personas that are
Yeah.
broken down, and each persona is for a different type of company and a different type of maturity. So if
Interesting.
someone's
Yeah.
upset with their CISO right now, I would recommend them to grab that book, read that, and see whether do you really have the right CISO? Perhaps this CISO is not for you because you're too big or too small,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've written in that book. And again, I've had lawyers, I've had all kinds of people who are non-technical,
Yeah.
even politicians who've read it and said, wow, now I know a lot of new stuff about cybersecurity that I never knew in the past. It
No. Yeah.
makes sense
And
for me.
that's awesome because the reason why I asked is I love the boardroom, CISO alignment or misalignment,
Yeah,
and
you
or
see me blabbering about it on my LinkedIn all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. No, but this is great 'cause I think this ties into the discussion we've been having, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up is there's a certain way that you're thinking about things that I think is it when it comes to now we're talking about MSPs and AI, it's birthed from this history.
Yes,
It's birthed from
yes.
this background, right?
That is true. That is true. And you know, I know we're close to the ending, and some MSPs will say, "Okay, cool, David, Krishna, what do I do next?" I would
Yes,
say,
yes,
you know, Monday morning, have a
yeah.
meeting, right? Have that mindset shift, right?
Mm.
Pick up 3 of your top clients that you think that you're very close to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pitch your AI readiness assessment and
Mm-hmm.
start from there,
Ah.
right? If you're not on this journey, that's a perfect place to start on that journey.
So this,
And
so this,
also,
yeah.
uh, there is a playbook by Pax8, Scott Chasen, the CEO. He
Mm.
unveiled the playbook, the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook. Brilliant resource. So I'd recommend you all to go ahead, download that, read it. It gives a nice framework. It gives them, where to start,
Yeah.
and that would be a good resource as well.
Ah, Krishna, this is man. Where did the time go? Right? We keep
Exactly.
going on. Yeah,
Like,
we keep
oops,
going on and on. It's
didn't we just
so
start?
yeah. It's funny. Being such and I didn't sort of shower the accolades of Krishna because I wanted people to sort of experience you to to realize yes, he knows what he's talking about. Krishna,
Thank you.
he's a pro. He has a long history in this space, and I think as we delve further into AI, every conference I've been to this year, it's been about agentic AI. From the Salesforce with Agent Force. I just mentioned the Adobe conference, right? As different the creative conference where you see a lot of marketing professionals and so forth. People like even Canva and Figma, on the design
Yes.
and creative side. To then the Cisco's and the Microsofts, and gosh, even did one financial planning conference in Miami. But every one of them, the key theme is how do they weave agentic AI across their applications, right? But one
Bingo.
of the things that we're seeing is that I think we're seeing that we talk about the confidence gap with MSPs. There is, I think, a skills gap
You're right.
in terms of how can
Absolutely
people
right.
begin to think about this, because if people aren't used to thinking on things like agentic or even how to prompt, something as simple as how to prompt, because
Yes.
prompting is a different way to use your brain in
Yes.
in
Correct.
in some in
It
some
will take
respects.
some
And so
training, I think, David. Right?
yes,
Yeah.
it's like coding, right? It's a
It's
different
coding.
way
Yeah.
to think, and so I am seeing prompt different AI systems become a lot more smart in terms of understanding even just more natural language stuff. So that's getting better, but it's a different way to prompt. It's a different way to think
You're right.
and to use your brain. So I think sometimes we're seeing the vendors present all these things and their products and so forth, and it can do this, but I think that look at the everyday average user from a user experience perspective, and really begin to break down with people, how do you actually begin to use this stuff to your point before, create outcomes. How do you achieve the outcomes that you want to achieve?
That's true. Absolutely true, David. I agree. And training is key, right?
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Improve yourself, learn. For clients, teach your workforce.
Hmm.
MSPs teach your workforce, right?
Yes,
Upskill them in this game. In this game.
indeed. Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Awesome.
David. It was
And
awesome. It's a pleasure
yes,
as always.
thanks for coming back to time traveling to the past to talk to
To the
us
past.
from the future, and it's been great.
And back to November 5th.
Yes, back November 5th. Everyone, thanks for joining us. It's been a great session. This has been absolutely fun. Thank you so much, Krishna. Until next time, everyone. Bye bye.